Good afternoon, I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. PNP councillor for the Johns Hall Division in Northwest Manchester, Faith Sampson-Nicol, crossed the floor to join the ranks of the JLP this morning. Ms. Sampson-Nicol made the symbolic walk during the corporation's regular monthly meeting. The PNP now has 8 councillors to the JLP's 7. A letter from Ms. Sampson stating her decision to switch sides was read by the mayor before she joined the opposition. TVJ News will have more on this developing story in subsequent newscasts, beginning with primetime news at 7. Deputy Chairman of the St. Ann Municipal Corporation, Sidney Stewart, has assumed the role of chairman following the resignation of Michael Belnavis. Mr. Stewart, who is councillor for the Bamboo Division, was installed during this morning's monthly meeting of the Municipal Corporation. Councillor for the St. Anne's Bay Division, Dallas Dickinson, was selected and installed as the Deputy Mayor. The councillor for the Papine Division, where Augustown is located, has criticized the security forces for missing yesterday's opportunity to catch some of the criminals behind the upsurge in violence. Augustown in St. Andrew is now a zone of special operation, allowing the authorities to mainly focus on dismantling at least 7 heavily armed gangs and implementing social intervention programs. Councillor Venetia Phillips says the strategic layout of checkpoints is weak and criminals were able to escape the community.
I remember one person said, we have instructions and we are carrying those out. And I looked at him and I said, study your instructions, because this is a farce. You are not doing what will redound to the long-term benefit of this community. You have to plug the air. The community members know. So if you don't lock Barrett Drive, what is your point?
Ms. Phillips was speaking today on Power 106 FM's Morning Agenda program. She says Peyton Place and Barrett Drive are 2 areas used as exit routes. The boundaries of ZOSO will include sections of Goldsmith Villa, Mona Road, Hermitage Road, Bedward Gardens and River Bottom Road. The Criminal Records Office of the Jamaica Constabulary Force is being criticized for its tardiness in providing criminal records to the courts. Parish Judge in St. Elizabeth, Natisha Hilton Faircloth, yesterday lashed out at the office for not making available the records of a man who was set to be sentenced. Justice Hilton Faircloth questioned why it was taken more than 5 months to prepare a criminal record from fingerprints submitted in February. She said the delay is a travesty of justice. Sentencing of several individuals is often delayed due to the absence of criminal records. Several stakeholders in the entertainment sector are ready to resume operations. This revelation came after a team from the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation toured various venues in the corporate area.
Some key players in the entertainment industry have been making preparations for the well-anticipated reopening of the sector in the Living with COVID-19 experience. Most now have new entry requirements. Upon entry, customers will be required to do temperature checks, sanitize their hands, and must wear a mask. Party promoters are also putting safety measures in place.
For the reopening, which we're not going to take anything for granted and take chances, so we'll know we have to do social distancing and sanitizing and enforce the mask wearing.
The Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, KSAMC, has been conducting a series of inspections at various entertainment venues in the corporate area. Chairman of KSAMC, Delroy Williams, says so far he's satisfied.
We have been to, in terms of the club operators, we have been to Ribby's and we have been to the Acropolis. We have been to the popular spot where we have Uptown Mondays, and we are here now at Stone Love, to name a few. I'm satisfied with what I've seen, satisfied with the venues, and also satisfied with the knowledge and the attitude of the operators of the venues. And they are all upbeat, they are all looking to restart, and they are all cognizant of the measures that they need to have in place.
In the meantime, Mr. Williams says a stakeholders meeting is scheduled for Thursday afternoon to discuss reopening plans for the sector.
We have to take in consideration the public health risk, and so we are saying to the promoters and persons who have host events that just must bear with us, just restrain yourselves, refrain from having these events. We are having discussions now. We understand the difficulties you are facing, and we are looking towards the reopening of the industry, but we have to do it in a responsible way. We have to take strategic and very timely decisions.
We're just there waiting, and anything where the government say it, we are work with, because it's all for the better at Jamaica and we, so we just have to just relax ourselves and wait and understand everything what's happening.
In March, Prime Minister Andrew Holness ordered the entertainment sector closed as part of measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. However, under the government's safety guidelines, since last weekend, some restaurants have resumed limited dining. Prince Moore, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, an event manager says the reopening of the entertainment industry will force party promoters to be creative. He said patrons must expect a price increase for party tickets.
Some of the things that are being suggested is, we will be having an event where, you drive up, park up and party. So you park up your vehicle, you and your friends, you have your own table, you are your own bartender and so forth. Or in a much larger space, patrons must be bracing them, if we must be honest, must be bracing themselves to some form of price increase. But to be really honest with you, as an industry, promoters and even suppliers, what everyone has been saying is that we're not looking for the rest of the year. I mean, of course, it's a for-profit business, but we're not looking to make a profit. We're just trying to break even to just have some form of normalcy.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. We have much more stories when we return. Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. 2 new high-dependency units opened at the Spanish Town Hospital are expected to significantly improve the survival of expectant mothers and their newborns. The multi-million-dollar facility was officially opened this morning. Krista Campbell has details.
Every single sick mother and child that comes into our care deserves a fighting chance, and these HDUs have been built to expand our capacity to provide that chance.
The HDUs, or High Dependency Units, at the maternity wing of the Spanish Town Hospital in St. Catherine are expected to be the difference between life and death for expectant mothers and their babies. It's the third of 4 HDUs to be installed by the European Union across the island as part of the government's move to reduce maternal and infant mortality.
In 2019, 5,135 mothers gave birth at the Spanish Town Hospital. 1,260, roughly about 25% of these babies were ill and required admission, chiefly with respiratory problems. About 2% required resuscitation because they did not immediately begin breathing. And for every 1,000 babies born at Spanish Town Hospital in 2019, 15 succumbed, most of them in the first week of life.
And with $423 million spent on the new facility, the EU ambassador to Jamaica says it's the same equipment or facility you'd see in any European country. And while the hospital does not currently provide intensive care, Senior Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Wright James says the new facility will significantly reduce the need for transfer of newborns who need specialist care.
2 high dependency units, one for the maternal side and one for the neonatal side. This hospital is 68 years old and we have never had this kind of setup before. This certainly will allow us to offer that intensive care, or certainly near to intensive care, that our mothers and our babies will require. But we have also been blessed with quite a bit of supportive, life-saving equipment that can help to monitor the mothers during labor, that can support the babies, certainly when they're born.
And as the country still struggles to contain the coronavirus spread, the EU ambassador says the facility is timely And hospital officials say it also addresses the age-old problem of bed shortage.
A total of 13 specialized bed spaces were added to the Spanish Town Hospital, 5 in the obstetric unit and 8 in the neonatal unit. In addition, 2 new blocks were constructed, a 4-bed HDU maternal unit plus 1 isolation suite, and the other, a 6-bed neonatal HDU plus 2 neonatal ICU isolation suites.
Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
The country has recorded yet another road fatality. The latest victim has been identified as Kimone Miles. She was being driven to work at the Royalton Hotel in Negril when the crash happened. It's understood that the driver of the Vitara, who was traveling in the opposite direction, lost control of the vehicle and collided into the RAV4, in which the deceased was a passenger. It spun out of control, hitting a third vehicle. Ms. Miles died on the spot. The other persons involved in the crash sustained minor injuries. Help is on the way for a number of people in St. James who have fallen on hard times due to the ongoing pandemic. Shane Masters picks up that story.
Over 3,000 residents from inner-city communities in St. James will receive much-needed assistance in light of a COVID-19 pandemic. These individuals, it's believed, have suffered the greatest after tens of thousands of workers were laid off island-wide as companies reduced their operations or were forced to close as a result of measures to combat COVID-19. The communities slated to benefit are Canterbury, Albion Lane, William Street, and Paradise Row. Councillor for the Montego Bay South Division, Richard Vernon, highlighted the reason for the intervention from the municipal corporation.
What makes these communities more vulnerable is the lack of access to essential service vehicles such as garbage trucks, fire trucks, police vehicle patrol, and ambulances. This situation makes evacuation in the case of a flood or a fire highly difficult and increases the possibilities of crime, casualties, pollution, and poor development.
He says COVID-19 has again shown the inequalities in the Jamaican society between the lower and upper class.
What we have learned from this new reality is that our most vulnerable people living in these settlements cannot outlast a direct outbreak.
Mr. Vernon has another concern as the new academic year approaches.
Many will not be able to purchase the needed educational materials for the new academic year, particularly due to the loss of income throughout the pandemic. This will prove to be further problems for a group that has missed out on nearly an entire semester of school because children lacked the necessary equipment to access online classes.
The help comes under the Participatory Informal Settlements Upgrading Project being spearheaded by the St. James Municipal Corporation and funded by UN Habitat. There are 3 main components of the program. These are educational, sanitization, and the supply of care packages to some 450 households. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
In news overseas, police in South Korea's capital, Seoul, have found the body of the city's mayor after he went missing on Thursday. Park Won-soon's daughter reportedly told police he had left a message before leaving the house, leading her to raise the alarm. His body was found in northern Seoul, near where his phone signal was last detected. A cause of death has not yet been released. It has emerged that a female employee who had filed a sexual harassment claim against Mr. Park in the hours before he went missing, but there was no confirmation that this was a factor. And in sports, the West Indies are 57-for-1 in their first innings on day 2 of their first test against England at the Agias Bowl in Southampton after Jason Holder's 6-wicket haul restricted the hosts to 204 all out. Brathwaite 20 and Hope 3 are the batsmen at the crease, with the visitors trailing by 147 runs. Earlier, Captain Holder and Shannon Gabriel combined to restrict the hosts to a less than respectable total, having elected to bat first. Resuming at 35-for-1, England added just 13 runs before removing Gabriel and Joe Denley for 18. 3 runs later, opener Rory Burns was also dismissed for 30, with England 51-for-3. From there, only Captain Ben Stokes 43, Joss Butler 35 and Dom Best 31 not out offered any resistance, as Holder claimed the next 6 wickets to finish with figures of 6 for 42. Gabriel returned to claim the final wicket of James Anderson for 10 to end with 4 for 62. And that's it for the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.